All right, happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm KHOU 11 Meteorologist Pat Cavlin here with a look at your forecast. We've got a couple storms out there today. Those will stay with us here as we go through the rest of the afternoon, the evening. We'll probably run into more chances again as we get into tomorrow. And then as we get to the end of the week and the weekend, that's when things will slowly start to settle down. But obviously, got more storms out there today. There's no severe threat. There's no flooding threat either. These are just more of nuisance storms. That being said, though, some of these storms could get feisty, maybe with some gusty winds, but we're not really expecting anything in terms of significant severe weather. Rain chances will stay on the higher side, I would say, through about mid-afternoon. Once we get to the second half of the afternoon and into the evening hours, that's when things will start to trend a little bit drier here. So rain chances at least 50% through, let's say, 3 and 4 o'clock. Once we get into the evening hours, that's the change in the forecast from where we've been the last 2 days. In the last 2 days, we had beautiful mornings, but then we ended up with these afternoon storms that got in the way of the evening commute. Today, I think the evening commute actually looks a little drier and a little better for some of us. That being said, there will still be storms out there. I just don't think it'll be widespread in nature. So scattered storms for today, trending drier later in the day into the overnight. And then for tomorrow, I think we get back to the same thing that we had yesterday. I think maybe a couple morning showers or storms at the coast, but I think those chances will continue as we get into the afternoon and into the evening. So I think tomorrow evening's commute, again, maybe a little bumpy for us with those rain chances. And then fewer storm chances come in for Friday. Not totally dry. I don't think any day on the 7-day forecast is totally dry, but we do see the chances come down as high pressure that's been centered up in the northeast starts to move into the southeast. And we'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes. But future track for the rest of today looks like this. Those downpours, those thunderstorms, they'll kind of spread out across the area, and they really start to migrate north. So I think our northern areas are especially dealing with this as we go through the evening. But look at this, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Unlike the last few days, future track looking a lot more quiet here. So I don't think our rain chances are that pronounced for the evening. Again, we're not totally dry. A couple downpours will be out there, but I don't think it's widespread activity that'll be disruptive for the commuters. And then Thursday morning, future track, this is new on future track. We take this with a grain of salt, but future track now is showing the potential for some spotty downpours at the coast in the morning hours. I think it's a better chance, though, that we see the activity around midday and then through the afternoon. So here we are again, 12, 1, 2 o'clock. And then getting even beyond that into the evening, couple storms still firing up across the Houston area. So yeah, I think tomorrow is a little more active for the afternoon and the evening compared to what we're going to see as we go through the rest of today. So rain chances today, 60%, tomorrow, 50%, still looking at scattered storms. It's not till Friday and Saturday that we start to see some improvements here with rain chances dropping back into the isolated category. And that has to do with that big ridge of high pressure that's been over the northeast. So this is what's been going on so far. We've had that ridge. It's been parked here over the East Coast. We've been talking about record heat for places like New York, Boston, Chicago, Philly, DC the last few days. That's because that heat ridge has been placed up there. Around that heat ridge, you typically don't get a lot of weather underneath these highs. Everything kind of has to travel around that area of high pressure. And so the wind flow around highs is clockwise, which means we're on the bottom side of this high. And so all of this moisture is traveling across the Gulf. And that's why we've had these scattered storm chances the last few days, just because we're catching this on the backside of the high. As we get into the end of the week and the weekend, that high will start to migrate in our direction. And remember what I said, underneath these pressure systems, you don't usually get a lot of weather. Are we going to be totally dry this weekend? No. But we will trend towards drier and warmer temperatures as we get into Friday and Saturday. Sunday, we probably see a little bit of a bump back up, but all in all, it's not going to be the scattered to widespread chances that we've had the last few days. That will also coincide with some warm temperatures. Now, notice out towards West Texas, getting into the Panhandle, we're looking at below normal temperatures for the first week of July. That's just because they've got a lot of monsoonal moisture coming in from the Pacific. So as long as the rain chances out there stay high, they're going to stay below normal temperature-wise. We will stay above normal in the Pacific Northwest and also across the East Coast. So that does include us here in Southeast Texas. Temperatures here through the 4th of July expected to be at or just above the normal. Our normal high this time of year is 92. All right, in the tropics we go. We had Andrea. That was yesterday. That storm has since totally fallen apart. We don't see any new development expected as we go through the next 7 to 10 days. So things are very, very quiet out here. A big reason for that is the Saharan dust that's coming off the west coast of Africa. So typically this time of year, you get a lot of monsoonal moisture through the Sahel. That's just the south of the Saharan desert in Africa. That kicks up a lot of this dust, and then that just moves across the Atlantic. Very, very normal to see that this time of year. That dust really puts a lid on any development. So we're not expecting anything here again over the next 7 to 10 days. But we do see a plume of Saharan dust making its way into the Gulf, I think, as we get into Saturday. And that will be with us here probably into Sunday and Monday. So just keep that in mind. We are expecting more hazy skies and some of those hotter temperatures, typically conditions that come with that Saharan dust for the weekend into the start of next week. So that's the Atlantic side. On the Pacific side, we've been talking a lot about the Pacific so far this year because it's been so active. And typically, remember, when things are active over here, they're quiet on our side. So we've got a little cluster of storms here just off the west coast of Central America, off the southern edge of Mexico. That is still expected to develop. 80% chance of development within the next 7 days. And so again, if we get stuff out there, things are going to stay quiet for us in the Atlantic. All right, if you're traveling on Thursday, temperatures in the Northeast finally break. We go from the 90s and triple digits to the 70s for high temperatures from Portland to Boston, New York. Still hot in DC down to Virginia. That's where that front won't have, gone through yet. But all in all, a couple showers and storms, slightly unsettled weather for us here in the Northeast. Across the Southeast, we've got temperatures in the low to mid 90s. A couple scattered storms not out of the question. More of your typical daytime summer weather for the Southeast. The coolest spot on the map will be down in Miami. Temperatures in the mid 80s for there. Here across the state of Texas, we're talking about mid 90s for Dallas, for Houston, same for Brownsville and Midland. El Paso, a touch cooler, maybe a couple showers out there, again coming in from the Pacific. Temperatures upper 80s. We'll do mid 80s for Amarillo, low 90s for Kansas City and Oklahoma City. Chicago, St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, all still very hot, low to mid 90s there with some cooler weather and a couple storms across the upper Midwest. Getting into the Great Lakes, Minneapolis, 70 degrees your high temperature for tomorrow. Traveling west, beautiful weather from San Francisco to LA. Sunshine, temperatures in the 70s, low humidity. Reno near 90, Las Vegas 104, Phoenix 106. The two hot spots out there, tons of sunshine though. Salt Lake City also pretty hot, mid 90s with sunshine, and mid 80s will do it for Denver. Seattle, breezy, unsettled showers coming in with our next storm system for the Pacific Northwest. Upper 80s though for Medford. Boise out towards Idaho Falls, Billings, Casper, Intermountain West, running warm, but it should be dry with mainly sunny conditions. So for the overnight, 76, partly cloudy skies. We will be dry as we get you into Thursday. A couple scattered storms, 94 will do it for your high temperature. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. So again, scattered storm chances will continue for today. We'll do it as we get into tomorrow as well. By Friday, things start to turn a little more isolated. We get into the isolated category here. Only a 30% chance for a couple of showers and storms. Same deal for Saturday as well. That's the day of the Pride Parade and Festival downtown Houston. A lot of people go to this, hundreds of thousands of people, close to 1 million people actually sometimes, and especially if temperatures are going to be in the mid 90s as opposed to the triple digits. Just be careful though with the heat being outside. A couple scattered storms possible. Isolated storm chance again for Sunday and Monday. We stay relatively dry as we get into the start of next week as well, with high temperatures staying in the low to mid 90s. All right, that's a look at your forecast here on KHOU 11+. I'm meteorologist Pat Cavlin. We'll have another look at the forecast on TV and streaming today at 4 o'clock.